Since the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel, there has been a sharp rise in anti Semitic violence across the world, including synagogue burnings and arson attacks reported across at least 5 continents. Jews have been assaulted while dining at kosher, Jewish style, or Israeli restaurants and attacked while walking on the streets. Taken together, these incidents suggest a pattern rather than isolated acts. While there is no suggestion of a grand conspiracy, there is a discernible effort to intimidate Jewish communities globally. This trend was starkly illustrated by two incidents, one in Australia and another on Manhattan's Upper East Side. On October 9, 2023, just 2 days after the Hamas attack, protesters gathered outside the iconic Sydney Opera House chanting slogans such as "Globalize the Intifada" and "From the river to the sea," phrases widely interpreted by Jewish communities as calls for violence or erasure of Israel. Some attendees alleged that chants of "Gas the Jews" were also heard, though this remains disputed. What alarmed many observers most were chants of "Where are the Jews? Where are the Jews?" Similar incidents were witnessed months later outside Park East Synagogue in New York, where demonstrators repeated familiar slogans but also shouted, "Make them afraid," explicitly signaling an intent to intimidate Jewish worshippers. In the aftermath of the terror attack in Australia, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and the National Cabinet vowed to eradicate what he described as the evil scourge of anti Semitism. The government announced steps including further tightening Australia's already stringent gun control laws and establishing a centralized national hate crimes and incidents database. Amid this backdrop, criticism also emerged from Australia's decision in September to formally recognize a Palestinian state. Mark Cooper argued that the move sent a signal to extremists determined to target Jews. Data released earlier this month by the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, the ECAJ, underlined the scale of the problem. The organization recorded 1,654 anti Semitic incidents between October 1, 2024 and September 30, 2025. While lower than the 2,062 incidents recorded the previous year, an all time high, the figures remain deeply concerning. The incidents included vandalism of homes, cars, and schools with anti Israel slogans, arson attacks on a synagogue and a childcare center, and the suspension of two nurses who posted online that they would kill or refuse to treat Jewish patients. In January, police also foiled what they described as an anti Semitic plot after seizing a travel trailer packed with explosives. Most incidents were reported in Sydney and Melbourne, Australia's two largest cities, which together are home to around 85% of the country's Jewish population of approximately 1,17,000. Now, ever since the attack, the spotlight has turned to the deadly shooting at the Sydney's Bondi Beach, which left 15 dead. The lone surviving shooter has been identified by Australian media as Naveed Akram, a 24-year-old. While the global media, including Australia's own media, went wrong about the identity of the killers, ThePrint was the first to report that Naveed's father, Sajid Akram, 50, who was shot dead by the police at the crime scene, was of Indian origin. Sajid had migrated to Australia from Hyderabad, Telangana in November 1998 after completing a BCom degree. He married a woman of European origin, well Italian, and settled permanently in Australia. While Sajid continued to hold an Indian passport, his son and daughter were born in Australia and are Australian citizens. According to the Telangana police, Sajid had limited contact with his relatives in India over the past 27 years and visited the country only 6 times, primarily to take care of his elderly mother and to attend to property matters. He last visited India in 2022 and did not return even when his father died in 2009. The factors that led to the radicalization of Sajid Akram and his son Naveed appear to have no connection with Indian or any local influence in Telangana. The Telangana police said in a statement, adding that there was no adverse record against Sajid during his time in India. Family members in India also expressed no awareness of any radical leanings. Investigators and Australian media have reported that Naveed Akram allegedly had links with the Sydney based preacher Wissam Haddad, also known as William Haddad or Abu Osid. Police recovered improvised explosive device and handmade ISIS flags from the car used by Naveed to reach Bondi Beach. Haddad, who founded the Al Madina Dawa Center, had delivered a series of sermons in November 2023, weeks after the Israel Hamas war began. In one of the speeches circulated on the social media, he referred to a historical Islamic narrative blaming the Jews for poisoning the Prophet Muhammad, remarks Jewish organizations described as overtly anti Semitic. These speeches, delivered primarily in Arabic, were transcribed into English and submitted to the Australian Federal Court by the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, which filed a case against Haddad and the Al Madina Dawa Center. In July this year, the federal court ruled that Haddad's lecture series titled The Jews of Al Madina contravened the Section 18C of the Radical Discrimination Act. The court found that the speeches conveyed insinuation likely to offend, insult, humiliate, and intimidate Jews and ordered the lectures removed from the social media. Haddad was also restrained from publicly communicating material attributing negative characteristics to Jews on the basis of group identity. In an affidavit filed in May, Haddad denied preaching hatred against Jews or any other religious group. Asked about the links between Bondi shooter and the ISIS inspired ideology, Prime Minister Albanese stopped short of naming specific individuals but said investigators were examining evidence suggesting terrorist inspiration. What we know already is that there is evidence that this was inspired by a terrorist organization by ISIS, he said, citing the recovery of Islamic State flags from the vehicle used in the attack. Radical perversion of Islam is an absolutely a problem. ISIS has created an evil ideology that has just been called out not just by the Australian government but globally, he added. Well, the fact remains that 15 people are dead because of their hatred for Jews. This was an attack that targeted the Jews. The shooters are of Indian origin. However, does it really matter? It does not, because the man had migrated to Australia in 1998. His son was born in Australia. The radicalization happened in Australia. And hence, radicalization continues to be the main issue that the world is facing. For The Print, this is Snehesh Phillip. Do subscribe to The Print's YouTube channel for more such videos.